When burnout hits, it's very easy to blame the job. Maybe your boss is giving you more and more work to do and tighter deadlines, or your colleagues are super demanding and they're constantly asking for last-minute favors. Maybe your clients are slowly sucking the life out of you. It is so easy to push the blame onto someone or something else. And there's no shame in that because it's something that we all do. The issue here is burnout then becomes less of a you problem and more of a them problem. You tell yourself, if I can just get to the weekend, then I'll have 2 days off. If I take a vacation, it'll all be fine. If I quit and change jobs, I'll be happy again. But these things rarely ever work. We never actually stop and question whether it is really our job that's causing our burnout or whether it goes a lot deeper than that. And we're actually the ones triggering it ourselves by how we show up to work in life and behave. I'm talking about the lack of boundaries you have in place to protect your time and energy, how you don't speak up for yourself, the fact that you take on more work than you can handle because you have this deep inner need to feel appreciated and validated. Your fear of asking for help because you think it means that you're weak or that you failed, and chasing societal expectations and milestones so you can prove to yourself that you're doing things right. These are the things that actually cause burnout, not just the long hours, the demanding workload, or the never-ending to-do list. This is just the product of losing sight of yourself so you can squeeze into someone else's version of success. When I figured this out, it was a very hard pill for me to swallow because for a very long time I blamed my burnout on a toxic job, a stressful work environment, bitchy models, and demanding clients. But even after I quit, I was still burnt out. Yes, I was traveling, I was making the most out of fun employment, doing crazy adventurous things, but I was still drained. I was still exhausted. I was still disconnected from myself, and I still felt lost. Traveling just helped me distract myself from those things. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think my burnout ever really went away until 2 years later when I started to really take better care of my health, something that I had previously neglected, and began prioritizing what I actually wanted out of life and getting clear on how that translated into a career. Long story short, I had to take back control of my life rather than constantly running on autopilot and doing the things that was expected of me or what would make others happy. So no, it's not your job's fault or your boss's fault on why you're burnt out. It's no one's fault but your own. So today I think it's time for a little bit of some tough love. Here's exactly why you burn out and what you can do about it instead. If you're new here, hi, I'm Thalia. I'm a certified health coach and the creator of Notes by Thalia, a self-development hub for corporate gals ready to bounce back from burnout and transform their draining job into a career they love. Every week-ish, I share content on burnout recovery, self-care, and career growth. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. When it comes to what triggers burnout, it's super common to pinpoint unrealistic workloads, stressful deadlines, a micromanaging boss, a toxic or fast-paced work culture, and the pressure to keep up. But I think that it goes so much deeper than this because burnout isn't surface level. Yes, the symptoms might be, but there's a lot happening beneath the surface. So from my own experience and what I see a lot with clients, I've gathered that burnout really comes down to these 3 things. So the first one is you're doing work that no longer aligns with you. This basically means that the tasks you're doing, you can do them in your sleep. They feel meaningless, boring, and they have nothing to do with your real strengths, skill set, or interests. Maybe your role never aligned with you in the first place. I actually see this one a lot because we tend to jump straight into a career that looks good on paper rather than questioning if it's something that we actually want. And over time, it just becomes mundane. Your default at this point is probably to procrastinate, to put off your work in the hopes that it will magically sort itself out. Or you've started to adopt the quiet quitting trend. You're doing the bare minimum and that's it. You're physically showing up, but you've mentally checked out. Overall, you feel uninspired, unmotivated, empty, and just disconnected from yourself. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. If your career doesn't align with who you truly are and what you care most deeply about, it's always going to feel like a grind. It's always going to feel like something is missing. And so you're going to work harder in your job to make up for that, hoping that your next promotion or pay rise will magically fix that emptiness. But what you really need to do is connect with your core values, your guiding principles. What do you value above everything else? Is it creativity, leadership, authenticity, compassion, freedom? Once you're aware of what drives you, what's going to push you out of bed in the morning, you can look for a job that fits this. Or if that's not an option, reshape your current role. At the very least, I suggest building a life outside of work that does reflect each of these values. So the second reason why you hit burnout is because you're not honoring your own boundaries, or you've never had them to begin with. This basically means that you don't respect your own time or energy. You're available 24/7. You take on extra work that you don't have capacity for, answer late night emails, and never fully switch off. At this point, your default is probably to say yes to absolutely everything because you feel guilty saying no, or you're overachieving, taking on way too much to meet everyone else's expectations while convincing yourself that this is what you want. To learn more about the 6 archetypes of burnout, you can check out my latest video linked up here. Being a yes girl or an overachiever often comes from deep-rooted limiting beliefs that tell us that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, worthy enough, or successful enough. So we overcompensate to prove the world wrong, but end up abandoning ourselves in the process by forgetting who we are and what we actually stand for. And in the end, we hit burnout. Honestly, burnout is inevitable if you're not constantly working on your mindset or building self-love, because these two things really are the foundation of everything. If you can't love yourself first, then the rest of the work you're doing is pointless. And if you don't have a strong and resilient mindset, then you will crumble under the face of life's challenges. So before you can begin to set boundaries, you need to shift your mindset. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to them, or you're just going to feel guilty about having boundaries. You need to first break through all the negative beliefs that you have about yourself that are currently keeping you stuck. Write them down. Where do these beliefs come from? List all the ways that this belief isn't true. How can you reframe this belief so it actually serves you? This exercise is not a one and done thing. You need to do this work consistently, because once you've broken through one limiting belief, another one's going to show up, and then another one, and then another one, until finally you've got to the point where you feel completely and utterly at peace with yourself. You accept yourself for who you are, despite all of your flaws and downfalls. So don't skip this step and don't give up on it. This is where change happens. The third and final reason why we hit burnout is because you're neglecting your most basic needs. So you might be skipping meals, sacrificing sleep, not spending enough time outside, moving your body in a way that feels like a punishment or not at all. When I was deep in burnout, I turned to running, not because I enjoyed it, but because the exhaustion of running helped distract me from the exhaustion of my job. Anyway, over time, these little ways that you neglect yourself, they add up, leaving you feeling even more drained, disconnected from yourself, and completely running on empty. Your default at this point is not knowing how to fully switch off or take proper care of yourself. So you end up doom scrolling, mindlessly watching Netflix, and bed rotting. I know these things are within your comfort zone and feel like a quick escape, but none of these activities actually recharge you. Yes, the answer is still self-care, but not any old self-care like bubble baths, detoxes, or spa days. The self-care that's actually going to help you right now is not doing nice things every once in a while to balance out how much you've been overworking. It's building a daily routine that doesn't constantly drain you in the first place. I'm talking about prioritizing habits and hobbies that are sustainable and making time for the type of rest that you need in that moment. I want you to remember that self-care, it's not something that you turn to when you're already burnt out or when things are already falling apart. It's what stops you from getting there in the first place. Okay, so those are the 3 real reasons why you hit burnout. It's not because of your job, but because you're doing work that no longer aligns with you. You're not honoring your own boundaries, and you're neglecting your most basic needs. I'm not saying that you're doing all 3 of these things. You might only be doing one of these things, but that one is enough to push you towards burnout. And once you're super clear on your main trigger, you can finally find a solution that works for you. This usually comes down to one of these 3 things: feeling aligned in everything you do, from work to the people you're friends with and the lifestyle you're building for yourself. Shifting your mindset so you're not tying your worth to your achievements or rejecting yourself when what you really need is self-acceptance. and prioritizing self-care, not just at the weekends, but every single day, and making sure you're focusing on habits, hobbies, and rituals that vibe with you, that are sustainable for you, not just doing what is most popular. This is basically my anti-burnout framework in a nutshell. When all three of these parts work together, so your alignment, mindset, and self-care, you can have a lot more control over your life. It feels way more fulfilling and a lot less exhausting. I walked you through this framework a few videos ago, so I 10 out of 10 recommend you go and check that out. I'll link it above and also in the description below. But you can also take this work deeper by reading my book, Stay and Slay. It takes you through each step of the framework and shows you exactly how to implement it so you can beat burnout without quitting your job or making any more drastic changes. That's also linked below. That's it for today. I absolutely loved filming this video for you, and I would love to hear what resonated or what was a breakthrough moment for you. So do feel free to drop a comment below. And if you liked this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. I'll see you soon.